Hi, Mrs. Hall here. Welcome to Sage Testing. I'm super excited that you're here and you're going to do awesome. So, due to popular demand, here are some science facts that you guys wanted me to go over before you take the test. So, first one has to do with space. So, remember that the nebular theory has to do with the formation of the solar system, while the Big Bang theory has to do with the formation of the universe, and it's continually expanding. Alright, so number 2 has to do with geology, my favorite. So remember we started out with continental drift, where we had all our continents together in this big clump called Pangea, and they slowly drifted apart. And Alfred Wagner couldn't explain what made them drift apart, so people didn't believe him. But we came up with this modern theory of plate tectonics that talks about convection currents in the mantle. So remember, like our lava lamp, where that blob is heated and it rises and it goes away from the heat source, and so it starts to cool and sink and fall back down. And then it gets heated back up and it rises, cools and sinks. So that's happening in the mantle, and we have our plates on top that are just kind of floating around and moving because of this convection current in the mantle. And then of course we have our 3 plate boundaries. You can view the image really quick to remember those. Alright, number 3 has to do with the atmosphere. So remember we have the greenhouse effect, and it's a good thing because it keeps us at a perfect temperature. But we as humans are adding to these greenhouse gases. We're adding more carbon dioxide, water vapor, methane, things like that, and it's increasing this greenhouse effect, which is increasing our temperature on a global scale, which is global climate change. One other thing to remember along with the atmosphere is weather and climate. So remember that low pressure means storms, rain, wind, and the bigger the storm, the lower the pressure. So tornadoes, hurricanes, thunderstorms, those are going to have really low pressure. And then when it comes to high pressure, we have clear, dry air. And remember, all those molecules are really close together, pushing down on our barometer, so it's going to be rising, just like if you stepped on a bathroom scale and your weight was pushing down on it. The same thing with high pressure. We have all these dense molecules close together. Next up is number 4, the hydrosphere. Some important things to remember about the hydrosphere are the water cycle, and anything that collects water, whether that's the ocean, a lake, underground water tables or underground aquifers, those are considered reservoirs. We call them reservoirs. And one cool thing about the water cycle is that when water goes through the water cycle, it purifies itself. So it leaves all those impurities and elements behind and becomes clean again, which is really, really cool. And another thing to remember about the hydrosphere is the ocean. Remember that the deeper you go, the colder it gets, the more dense it gets, and the colder it gets. Alright, last but not least is section number 5, science and society. And so one thing I wanted to quickly remind you about is renewable versus non-renewable resources. Remember that renewable is something that can be used over and over and over again, like solar energy, wind energy, biomass energy, trees can be replanted, things like that. Where non-renewable means that once it's used, it's gone, like fossil fuels, gasoline, coal, things like that. And another thing I wanted to talk about was feedback loops. Remember that a positive feedback loop is something that continually keeps going. So even if it has a negative effect, like the greenhouse effect, as long as we continue to add these greenhouse gases, it's going to keep going and increasing, and that's considered a positive feedback loop, even though the outcome isn't really something that's very good. Where a negative feedback loop is anything that stops that loop from going or slows it down, like when your body gets sick and your antibodies fight off that and your fever goes down and you get better. That's considered a negative feedback loop because it doesn't keep going. Alright, that's all I had to go over. Good luck on the test. You're going to do awesome. Just relax. Don't stress. You got this. Good luck.